so I know who I'm talking to. But I made some notes. I brought a map, and I think that's about it's supposed to be 3/4 of an hour. Yeah, it's working. First I was going to, from my notes, review with you a couple of items that I picked up from your prior interview. And one of them, of course, just struck me off my chair at the beginning, and was that your mother was born in the Ferry House.
Correct.
Because that's such a current thing now with the being redone, and Lou Knapp is promoting it and trying to, Chamber of Commerce. So, did your mother, was she a long-time Stratfordite? I mean, her family and so forth?
Our parents were originally from England,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure what year they came, but my grandmother was my grandfather's second wife,
Mm-hmm.
and these were his children. She was the youngest of the three by this wife.
I see.
As
Okay.
far as I know, she was born in the southwest bedroom nearest the turnpike.
Is that right? But what was her last name?
Moon.
M-O-O-N? I
Correct.
saw that as a middle
Okay.
name. Okay. Now, going on from that, I of course listed in sequence by house number your Stratford home locations, starting in 1925 with 1560 Elm Street.
Either 60 or 80, I'm not positive.
Okay. When we came out of the club yesterday, I said, I'd like to see where that is. Well, we can't quite see that quickly, the street numbers anymore. And it's a good,
Correct.
was it on the garden side?
No, the riverside.
It was on the riverside? We
Because
didn't,
that's part of my tale. A hurricane came when we didn't know it was hurricanes.
yeah,
And it came right up to the back door
right up to,
and underneath the chicken coop.
and then you moved in, the family moved, you were pretty brand new then. The family moved in 1928 to 85 Freeman Avenue.
Correct.
That was more nearer to Paradise Green section and
right.
so forth. And then in 39 and 40 up to 60, 80 North Main
Right.
and
That had a
Putney.
rural delivery route at that time. It was box 139.
Yeah. But that was a simpler way of finding their way around at that point. There were probably only 139.
Nobody put their number on the house. They just
Yeah.
had the post box.
Then you went to college, Brown, and I guess it was shortly after that, or sometime in the early 40s, that you were married.
Correct.
And then
During the war.
During the war, you went to, was it Mount Laurel? Where in New Jersey did you go?
Robbinsville.
Yeah, Robbinsville. That's a new one to me.
R-O-B-B-I-N-S.
Oh, okay.
Outside of Trenton.
Oh, okay.
And right now, the turnpike goes right through my father-in-law's property.
Oh, is that? Well, that's what happened here in Stratford too, to
Right.
people, I guess. And then after the war, you came back to Putney with the family.
Because my husband got a job in Waterbury,
Mm-hmm.
and we couldn't afford a house up in Waterbury.
Yeah.
So my parents let us have this little house down back, in 608.
Oh,
There were two houses there.
at
There was a
60.
small one down nearer to the river, which was the caretaker's house, and that's where I raised my family
Oh, is that?
before I came up here to Roanoke.
Oh, okay. And so you were continued to be of the two houses. You were
In what we always called the little house.
in the little house and
My mother and father in the big house.
in the big house.
I had the best view of the river.
Well, if I went down that 6080, would I still see the?
You wouldn't see the little house because it's been knocked down now because all those other big houses built in there
Yeah, built and back.
on Founder's Way.
Built and back of the big house. Yeah. Well, that's one thing. You do a certain amount of nosing around these little side streets. I love to do that. But in recent years, I've done less because we've shrunk from 2 cars to 1 car. So I can't wander around quite as freely. So going from that, I went to reviewed the Stratford schools, and I was reviewing this with Art this morning, and he said, well, I don't know about that one, you know.
Which one?
Art is in his, like, mid-70s or something. Well, the Sedgwick School, which was at the corner of, well, he knew the location, I guess. Maybe he had heard. Sedgwick School, corner of Sedgwick and Wood End. And then the one we had, the Garden Street. Did Washington come before Garden?
No. Garden came first.
And
Third
then,
and fourth grade. Fifth grade, we went across the lot into Washington
but were they
School.
kind of in the same lot or something?
Almost the same plot, and now it's all a senior citizen housing.
That's what he said. He went to Garden, I guess. So he remembered that, but he didn't remember Washington. So that, as
No,
you point out, it was removed at some time. And then when it was crowded, you went over to Nichols, or they were building.
When they were building,
While they were building.
second floor onto Garden,
Yeah,
or sixth grade.
yeah. Now, somewheres, I leave the schools now, and I go to that Nathan Curtis house, and I have somewheres pictures of it, either from Lou's book or postcards or something, of the Curtis house being moved from one location to another. You mentioned sliding or staying near the Nathan Curtis house, and that was moved around.
Oh, that was it back on Elm Street.
Yeah, from Elm Street to some other location near the bridge or something.
That house was moved, yes.
Yeah.
But it was on Elm Street when we were doing our
Yeah.
sliding.
Yeah, and that's where
That's
you,
when I was little,
yeah, that's where you got poked.
right?
Yeah. Do you recall where it was moved to at all? Yeah.
It's up on, near Riverview Place,
Near Riverview? Okay.
just below the Washington
I think I've
Bridge.
seen pictures of it even, was it moved by barge?
Barge.
Okay, I've seen pictures of that.
And now currently, a lady from our church bought it from somebody else.
Oh. Well, you do see, just as you see down on Elm Street, the change in that one home, the beach home,
Right.
where it's taken down, then now they have five condos that they've put in
Sad.
there, you know?
It's sad, but
Yeah.
and the carriage house is now at the Historical Society from the beach house.
Yes, I'm watching that. I guess I told you that my daughter and my wife drew a picture of that, which was on the card they had. I'm interested. I have not explored much. I tried to get through Cut Spring Road and demonstrate to my wife how we got through there up to where Shelton.
Oh,
And,
Shelton? No.
Well, we come off at Route 8 at exit 11 to get to Stop and Shop on the way home sometimes. And I told her if we turned right there and took
Armstrong
the
Road,
road back into Stratford,
and then Jamestown Road.
which was Huntington, I think. Maybe it's Huntington. Goes back in. I said, I did that once. Now I'll show you how we'll go the other way. And then I think I must have gotten lost around your camp area and we turned around. As soon as I get lost, we go
That's
back.
at the top of Cut Spring Road.
Cut Spring. So you go under the bridge, under
And
the highway.
there's a building there that was originally a dance hall, square dance hall. And then later years, it's been used for restaurants, but it's closed now.
Is that on the right side going?
And right beside that used to be complete rocks, and only one car could go through at a time to get in to go around the little lake.
Oh, I see.
But now it's all the forest in back has all been broken up into all these big homes.
So, did you, I think you said you went up there for the summer,
Every summer is the day that school closed.
and
We moved into the camp.
you stayed there?
They stayed there.
Did you run
until-
the camp? Or?
No, this was individual homes around the little
Oh, it was
lake.
like having a cottage,
Cottage, yeah.
like having
At
another,
the beach. Yeah.
some people have cottages, Arts has one down by the water, I know.
Yeah.
So I was wondering about that, because then I thought, well, I wonder if they ran the camp. or
Now
what.
they've all been fixed up to be used year round.
Yeah, yeah. So,
That was a great
so it's
way
not
to spend the summers.
So Cook's Pond is hardly there now?
That's there. They
But
fixed the waterfall.
But there's
and all.
not a camp necessarily?
It's not a camp, it's all individual
Yeah,
homes,
okay.
but rough.
Yeah.
It was.
Now, I had read what you said, now, I'm going on to the trolley and Paradise Green. Now, when I go from the south, coming back up this way,
That's why
and
you're
I'm on Main Street, and then I go in by the stores,
That's why all the cars are over here next to the green, because all on this side by the houses was all the trolley tracks, continued and went up and stopped at Windsor Avenue.
so the trolley tracks were to the right of the main highway going by what is now a 7-Eleven. There's a 7-Eleven down there. Or-
Paradise Green.
Yeah, it's just come in the last couple of years, or year or so. You know where across from Hamilton, so I'm talking on the green side, across from what was Hamilton's,
Drugstore.
which left here 5 years ago maybe. That's kind of now the main passageway through.
It's for parking and all on that side by the stores. That's where the trolley tracks ran. And all the cars were over here closer to the green. That's why we still drive closer to the green side. And all the stores have the parking where the trolley tracks went.
Okay, so where I parked to go to the hardware store,
That
that's
was
what
trolley tracks.
I was asking Art if he remembered that, and he didn't remember that part. He thought I was saying, do you remember the trolleys? He said, no, I remember they're taking up the tracks during the war or something to sell the metal and so forth.
But they did, right up Freeman Avenue, they did start to go down the middle of Main Street all the way.
Okay,
Down through the center, and then at Stratford, at Hart's Corner, so-called, Stratford Avenue, they would turn to go to Bridgeport.
oh. And I guess that's the way the bus goes. I think I
Correct.
took the bus that way one time. Okay, so I was in a tizzy about that trolley. I was saying, I think, and I was pointing out to my wife, I think when coming back home yesterday, I said, I think if you go in by the hardware store, that little off to the right, and then come out back up here, I think that's where the trolley went.
They ended at Windsor Avenue, where the stores stopped.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting what attracts somebody's attention, but we of course had trolleys running from Caldwell through Montclair and down to Newark. And I know my wife worked before I met her. She was working down at Bamberger's or something like that. And but we used to go down to the doctors down in Newark, and we'd take the trolley. So
These trolleys ran from here to Fairfield Center. That was their route,
oh,
all the way.
right through Bridgeport. So.
But there used to be trolleys even go through East Broadway on to New Haven. Everybody went to the football games at Yale.
Oh, that's another thing I did
Way back.
when we first came up here. I was going over to the soccer games over at Yale, and with my son-in-law, and then I'd go
You took the
over.
Parkway, I bet.
I took the Parkway and then worked my way down from there. Now, do you recall the town center? I have not really, in my mind, had a good picture of the town center before the highway came through, because I think of it as a very low area right by the little stores that are there now, and by the center school area and so forth, administration building.
My
Think of
mother
that.
went to center school.
Did she? And well, I've gone in there to get the budget and things, or that's the administration building, not the school. But that's the one they keep threatening to close down now, is the little school in back, which is, I guess, the new center school in back of the administration building. Now, so was the center really in a low area?
No.
Or was it like, how near to Lovell's hardware store was the center?
The whole buildings that are there now is what I remember.
As a
A
center?
different style of different things. St. John's drugstore, Kelman's Brothers Meat Market.
Right in by that Lovell's?
Yeah, next to Lovell's used to be probably the same driveway they have now. And then the post office and the town hall.
Okay.
And around the corner, along the railroad tracks, was the duckpin bowling alley, which I've done for 30 years, and I wish I could do it now, but I can't.
Well, one of my friends that I played ping pong with goes down to duckpin bowling.
Well, I've done both alleys now, up on Barnum Avenue, but the original ones were down
Yeah.
along the railroad track
Oh,
on Linden Avenue.
well, that's
The
what.
theater was always there. It's where I saw my first movie. Laurel and Hardy,
Yeah.
they were something to do with a dentist, and I know I cried when they were pulling.
Did you used to have Saturday matinees for like 15
Yes,
cents or
oh,
something,
sure.
where they give prizes once in a
Sure.
while, lucky number prize? I loved those short subjects with the, like out on the desert, or the cowboy shorts, or the this, that, or the other
There
thing.
was the Lynn Laundry, run by the Chinese family. The children were very smart.
Mhm.
And a couple other stores. And there was a little white building next to the bank, which one of my mother's friends ran a stationery, notebook, pencils kind of store.
Mhm.
And then this Nate Dahl, listed here, ran it with his wife after that.
Now, you mentioned the bank. I see a building down there that looks like it must have been a bank,
That's the
near the
one.
theater.
That's the one.
Yeah.
As you turn the corner there, that bank has always been there. That was the
Now-
Stratford Trust Company where I had my first school savings account.
Now, which corner, though? I wonder.
No, when you're coming up Main Street and you turn to go through the center.
The center being at Barnum,
No.
down by the flagpole?
Yeah.
Okay, by East Broadway, or whatever they call
Right.
it.
That's the building,
That's
that's
the-
the bank building.
Because it looks, I told my wife that looks like a bank, and yet there's some other name like it
Well, now,
became
yes.
a bank, and then it
Oh,
became something else.
It became Bridgeport City Trust, it became Chase, it became everything.
That's what I was picturing that
And
when
then after the last, it's some other company now,
yeah,
but
I was picturing that.
there was a gas station during my time next door. Church Street comes out with a Congregational church here,
Mhm.
and a gas station right here run by one of my friend's father.
Mhm.
And he also sold Frigidaires on the side to
Mhm.
make a living.
Uh-huh.
My father
Wow.
always got his gas from him.
Yeah.
Or then when he closed up, my father went to the YD station on Barnum Avenue. That would be the Yankee division the man was from World War I. Always called the YD gas station.
Oh, that's interesting.
Still there, but under another product.
Well, I guess you've seen a lot of changes along there.
Oh, so many.
Even since we've been here, we've seen quite a few changes. As we were going into the library yesterday or the day before, I said, now, these are two different buildings. I said,
Correct.
one of them is the American Legion,
Correct.
and one of them is a former library building.
Right.
Now, I think that one on the right looks like it must have been the American Legion. That looks a little...
The darker gray one, granite stone one, when you're walking up to it on the right, that's the original library.
The one on the right is the
Yeah.
library.
And the one on the left is the American Legion.
American Legion. Oh, okay. Well,
If you
that's
walked up the path, which I think is still there,
from Main
on the
Street.
north side of the library itself, there's a turret area.
Oh, and you said that's where you entered, and you met this
That's
this
where we
woman
always
was up-
entered,
The
and
woman was always at the
this,
desk.
Miss Fanny Russell, they called her, Frances.
Was the librarian. Yeah. And they became part of the family. I mean, somebody that was always there,
Right.
particularly with the reading and involvement. Okay, now, next subject. You made, say on a Sunday, this particular Sunday, you took a ride along River Road up to Shelton, and then you went back to Beardsley Park, I assume. How did you go back to Beardsley
Well,
Park?
I guess somehow out of Shelton you must come through
Like the old Bridgeport Avenue?
Huntington Turnpike, so-called.
Probably what they have now is that old Bridgeport Avenue. It goes by the Buick dealer and so forth.
Yeah, but somehow
Down
you
to
got to
Huntington.
swing over. Maybe that, because we went by Trap Falls Reservoir, I think. So it must be in there somewhere,
Yeah.
whatever the main road was in
Yeah.
those days to get around.
So that's right. You may have gone all the way to Huntington and come back
Somewhere.
down Huntington Avenue. Can you be a little bit more precise as to the location of that Putney school? Was that
Which one?
the Putney school?
Oh,
In other words, I have Whippoorwill coming into North Main, and like that, here's Whippoorwill. Was the school kind of over here?
yes,
With the-
where that church now is.
Okay,
In Lou's book and
Yeah,
all
Lou.
the different ones, there's a little old wooden structure probably, little tiny thing that the original my friends went to when they were growing up. And then they got a little bit better one, I think, and then before we came up here to Putney, they built
yeah,
this, I think it was like a 6-room school.
yeah.
And
Okay, I was just trying to get a
so
little
it's now
more solid.
converted to that church.
Yeah, I was trying to get a little more solid on the location because
Well,
that's
it's
kind of the way I
on the
picture
river
it.
side of of Main Street,
Main Street.
before the
Okay.
power lines.
Yeah, that's right. That was a little to-do that we had
Right.
a few years ago. Let's see. Oh, you mentioned, and it may be one and the same, the lower pond at Boothe Park. Was there
Yeah.
something other than Peck's
No.
Pond?
Peck's Mill is when you come down
Right.
there.
Would that be the same as the
No,
lower
no,
pond?
no, there's a pond down back on Boothe property,
Oh,
down back of the chapel. If you go down, when you're riding someday, go down there, the road beside the summer cottage, the chapel, then what's called the summer cottage at Boothe.
right.
There's a road called Founder's Way,
Oh, okay.
and all the houses are on this side, but if you're riding down there, as you get down to the bottom of that little hill, there is a little pond. We used
Oh, I see. Okay.
kids used to skate in.
Okay. Okay, I was wondering if that pond was the same, and you've indicated no. Down by Founder's Way, I'd find
It's
another
very
pond.
small, but it was good enough for us to skate on when my children were small.
Well, there's so much hidden water around. The streams, I tell my wife, this must have been a stream down here by the railroad track. It's so low, and we get flooded whenever you want to go through town and so forth. But there's plenty, throughout Connecticut, the it's quite a lovely state, you know.
Right.
It is.
And my father-in-law came up from New Jersey. He didn't like Connecticut because it wasn't flat.
Well,
It had too many rocks.
I was prejudiced anyway. I came up here from high school to work, as I told you, the Hartford accident for a year. Three very important things in my note were what you had donated to Boothe Park. And I listed the three of them under that: the kerosene stove, the ice house, and the wood saw. And I think I would want to isolate those. I think that's very important. Probably many other things, but that happens to be what you had mentioned.
I have in there 3 jars from a Hoosier cabinet that we had when I was growing up. And after I go, I want my kids to give them to them for their Hoosier cabinet.
Oh, that's nice. At the Boothe Park. Oh, that's nice.
Have you ever taken that tour?
I have. I was
Oh,
there.
that's right.
I was there at Boothe Day and met Dorothy Earle there and so forth. You mentioned that letter from Boothe. Have you made any copies of it?
I gave them a copy.
Do they have a copy?
I still have the original, which I want my
So-
children to give to them.
Maybe maybe I'll be able to get from them a copy to give to the Historical Society, because that would be a nice addition to your other thing, the added notes that I have. Now, I don't have other questions. You had gotten onto something, but I can't recall what it was, but in our discussion the other day, you got quite interested in, either it was in terms of your high school class. You mentioned the one fellow that went on to become mayor.
Town manager,
Town manager,
Richard Blake,
Richard Blake.
and Marie, his wife, was very active at the society.
Oh,
She helps to put together the newsletter and all that.
oh, down at the booth or at the
No,
town?
at the Historical Society.
Oh, well, then I should be meeting her because that's...
You should interview her maybe.
I'm doing that. Well, they better sit her down right at their office because David asked me to start up here at Oronoque. You've already mentioned some other Oronoque people that are long-term Stratfordites. I don't think I got their names on tape before, but you mentioned somebody that lives, or the wife, or somebody that moved up to Oronoque.
Well, I did say my in-law,
Oh.
Daniel Olson's wife, was one.
Oh, yes.
They ran the Floral Arts House of Flowers on Wilcoxon Avenue
Okay.
for many years. Did you ever go there? Around the corner, that house.
Yeah, was it a little gift shop also? We were in there a few years back. Yes, around the corner from the Brooks. And, okay.
The Hamiltons. I remember when they moved here out to Park Street, the boys were very small, and so I watched them grow up, of course, and then I went there for all my things I needed when they were in business, and then I had to switch up here to Oronoque Pharmacy.
Well,
And they grew up in my Episcopal church also.
oh, yes, Hamiltons went out after we got here.
Right.
When we first got here, we went to Oronoque Pharmacy, and there was somebody there that I found rather, not to me, but I wasn't pleased with the way he was dealing with people. Then the current group came in with Frank, the pharmacist, and they've been just fine, you know.
I don't know whether he's the one that's the son-in-law of one of my classmates.
Who? Frank?
Frank, I think it's Frank.
The pharmacist? That's interesting. So, any other thoughts that occurred to you? Or?
I didn't know they needed anything that I was the oldest of four.
Oh, that's right. I didn't really. You were the oldest of
Four.
four.
Following me were two brothers and then a sister.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did they stay in town?
no, the two boys went into the Navy and never really came home. And Janet married a high school classmate of hers, and he had gone to MIT and became a weatherman, and he was hired right away out of the Navy to go to Seattle for Northwest Airlines. So they went right out there right after they were married and built their own home and physically, and he was a weatherman there for many years. And they had four boys.
Yeah, your children.
I have I had four children myself, a daughter and three sons, and I had 7 grandchildren, only one girl out of all that, and now I have 2 great-grandsons.
And they're near enough to be with you for the occasions.
Oh yes, they all come. 2 families are in Pennsylvania, one in Monroe, Connecticut, and one in the New London area in Gales Ferry.
Oh,
That son works with Electric Boat in the nuclear department. And the one in Pennsylvania is a pediatrician, and the one in Monroe is a mechanical. So, not a mechanic, but he works with mechanical things.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's
my daughter is the oldest, and she has 2 jobs with a real estate company and a CPA at night.
Wow. Well, that's
And only the one granddaughter that's married with the 2
yeah.
great-grandsons.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I may call you up with some other little question, but other than that, and I'll let you know, see, and have a copy of anything I submit as a supplement to this. And also, I'll leave, should I leave both these for?
It'd be interesting for me to go
Okay,
through
I'm
them.
supposed to get them back, well, I'll take this, I'm supposed to turn them in September 7th.
My anniversary.
No.
My anniversary date.
Oh, is it? Well, I'll renew them, see, and you'll hold them, and then you'll just, when you
Give you a call.
give me a call, you know how to find me in the phone book. Okay. And so I'll have fun. The problem with the Historical Society for me is that Thursdays is my morning for golf, still.
That's when they're working down there.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right.
So I try to get down there Tuesdays, and I don't know, something kept me away this week, but I enjoy it a lot.
Is your wife active?
She's not, she has not been, she has been supportive of me. And no, this hasn't exactly been a brand new home for her, but she's happy with where we are. She enjoys the walking. She's a good reader. She enjoys her reading. She spoils me the hell out of me. You know, it's very tough to take. You know, you did that with and but unfortunately, the particular group that came in just after we got here kind of took over, and my wife didn't exactly like the way things were going, but she couldn't quite fit in with the next group, and we were a little too old to fight it. You know, we couldn't drink with anybody, so we avoided any of those little get-togethers. And
I don't go to those either.
I wasn't the dancer I should have been. She probably would have. I'd been happy with it. But she's been great. And our daughter over in Fairfield's been great.
I always said that I didn't do much up here because I had all these things I did before I moved here.
Yeah.
And Mondays and Thursdays I always bowled when they had their garden club and their musical things, and always something else to do.
Well, Nurse Hall was calling me up this morning to see if I was taking I take pictures also.
Right.
I'm one of the many who take pictures.
She goes to my church too, and she invited me up to see their unit when I was looking around.
Oh.
And so I saw their Thoreau.
Yeah, I sat with them at this weekender thing the other night, and
in fact, Larry is my Brown classmate, but he never would go back to any reunions or anything.
I had two close buddies that went to Brown, but they would have been a couple of years behind you. They were football players, a Bob Furlong and a Jack Cockapare from New Jersey. Pretty good. I played with them as a boy, but they got a little bit sturdier and bigger than I did. But and then I have a great niece that's going to Brown this year.
Because they didn't have a medical school or anything then when I went.
No.
But I went to Pembroke, as I said, became Brown later.
Yeah.
They were tied in, and I had all science courses and stuff, so I was over on the Brown campus more than,
Yeah.
and that's where I met my husband.
Yeah. Well,
Did I ever say in here what his name was?
oh,
I don't know whether I did or not. Can't remember. On the front page, I say going to Brown. And I talk about going to his home in New Jersey to live
yeah, I thought,
during the war, but I don't think I ever said his name.
you mean his first name?
I don't think I did. So it happens to be Russell.
Russell Applegate?
Russel C. Jr. But no, only one L in the Russell.
Russell C. Applegate.
Junior.
Junior. Okay.
And the reason why there's only one L, I don't know if this is on tape or not.
It is. Want me to stop it? Okay. Okay.
The airport in Stratford has been named several different names. I suppose they did it after Sikorsky. I guess it was Stratford Airport. Then when Sikorsky did his flying with his helicopter and all, they probably changed it to Sikorsky Airport. And that might have been the name at the time when the Mollisons had their crash. They were from England. Amy Johnson was an early aviatrix like Amelia Earhart. She married Johnson, what was it? Mollison, James Mollison. And at one time, and must have been around 1937, they had a flight in a little black one-engine plane from England to New York. We listened on the radio to track them. No other way. No television in those days. And they had gassed up, fueled up in New Haven. And we heard that they were on their way to New York. And we saw them go over Hickory Hill Pond. And the next thing we knew, my father gets a phone call, because he was the x-ray physician, we get a phone call, and the radio was saying we've lost contact with them, that something had gone wrong, and they had gone down to the Stratford airport. And they crashed way out in the marsh. It's all
They were trying to get into Stratford
Right.
Airport in an
for
emergency.
safety. Right. Well, they were not killed, and many days in the paper, all the pictures and all that. And that was a Sunday evening, and getting toward 9 o'clock. But when my father got the call, all of us, the 4 children, climbed in the car, went over, and we stood outside the window at the emergency room, looking in and watching the proceedings, bandaging them up and all that. And the story I always told on my Boothe tours, because they have a picture of them there at Boothe Park, that she had the biggest diamond rock I've ever seen, and he had a watch that was comparable now to what the Rolex is.
Isn't that something?
And even my father's picture was with them on the porch at Bridgeport Hospital in the rotogravure section of the Herald Tribune.
Wow. Wow.
It was very interesting. I made a collection of all the newspaper articles.
Yeah. Oh, that's a story. Okay, thank you. Now, are you still working? Yes. Okay, well, thank you again.
You're welcome.
That was a nice postscript too. Now, again, the Capig Club where you
The
had
social
your,
club, which I think,
right above Lovell's.
yes, I think the Lovels owned the whole building, and it was a Capig social club before it was turned over into apartments in later years.
Yes.
But my father and other men, it was mostly for men, and I suppose it was for the people who had a little more money and were invited to join, but they sometimes had a card party for the ladies and always a New Year's Eve party, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I never was up there, but so I couldn't tell you what it
Yeah.
looked like.
Yeah. Well, that's correct. It is in this write-up. What?